Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Erin Hansen. Hey, Erin, how are you?
Hi, Cesar. I'm well. How are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing good. You know, we're both on the same side of the states, so I love the SoCal weather, although it's a little bit cold for me, for my liking. Nevertheless, I think it's one of the best weather, so I'm definitely grateful for that.
Same. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today too.
Yes, definitely. Seems like it is. Before we dive in, let me just give our listeners and viewers a little bit of your background, and then we can definitely get started. So Erin Hansen is the owner of the Middle School Life Coach and is a nationally recognized middle school education expert and educator. Her career spans over 25 years as a teacher, coach, a presenter on the topic of connecting with middle school students. Erin has taught the children of celebrities and public figures such as Reba McEntire, Gene Simpson, Hugh Hefner, Shaquille O'Neal, Eddie Murphy, Demi Moore, Bruce Willis, and Courtney Cox. Erin has participated in talks and speaking engagements for parents in organizations. In addition to teaching and coaching, she also works as a professional life coach with Tony Robbins organization, coaching parents and families on how to connect despite this awkward time between childhood and adolescence. She wants to change lives, connect people, and help them understand each other's better. Seeing people find their joy, their true happiness, and potentially is what makes her feel fulfilled. She has worked with over 1,500 parents, taught over 2,000 students, presented workshops over 450 educators, coached over 98 teachers, and spent over 40,000 hours educating teachers, parents, and students. Wow, I gotta say, wow, that is amazing. You know, it's always interesting to me to see how people find the passion to do things like that, right? And it always goes back to the idea of growing up, and that's my question to you is growing up, how was that for you? Like, how was your growing up? What was that one thing you wanted to become? Because I do believe that between the ages of, the time you're born to the ages of 7 is when really we develop a lot of the habits that we're going to be in the near future, right? So tell me about your upbringing and what was the idea as a kid for you?
Right. Well, when you were saying that, Cesar, I was thinking there's a couple of things that come to mind. One, when you were talking about being younger, I would always play school. I had a younger brother, 4 years younger than me. And he and my cousin, I would make them do worksheets and I would correct them.
Yeah.
And I just had this kind of love for learning from when I was little, right? So every time the reason why I went to school is because I thought I have to get to college. And so that just got me to school every day because that was my goal. And I just soaked up everything. And I think luckily, a lot of the learning came easy for me, which, now later on down the road, teaching kids and working with parents, it's really, humbling, or really interesting to learn about how different people learn. And so now as a teacher and a coach, that's now my learning is like trying to figure out, okay, if it doesn't come easily for you, how can I make it interesting? How can I make it fun? How can we kind of get in there? And then there's one other thing that I wanted to share with you is that when I first became a middle school teacher, I was teaching middle school, and I had the 7th grade teacher from hell. And I swore that I would never be that teacher. And I wanted to be the teacher that I never had. I mean, she was horrible. She cussed at us. It was clear that she did not enjoy her job or have passion for it. And I thought I have to be the teacher that I never had. And so that just helped me to form relationships, with my parents and my students. And
Yeah. And you talked about how growing up, you kind of play school, or you like the learning and all that stuff. Did you ever had an idea of becoming anything other than a teacher, venturing to a different industry or profession?
right. I was also a singer and
Wow.
and an
Okay.
actress, musical theater. And so I wanted to be a performer. There was a time when I had really bad allergies, and and I had to go get, allergy shots. And so there was a time when my doctor made me feel so much better that I thought, oh, I want to become a doctor, and help people in that way. So it was all kind of around this helping, but then also I loved performing, and I loved
Mhm.
making people smile.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And growing up, did you? How was your childhood? Was it how would you describe your childhood in terms of growing up? It was good. It was in the middle. What were maybe some of the challenges that you might have faced either as a kid or a young adolescent, right? Which is who you're teaching now or mentoring to an extent.
Yeah, I feel very grateful for my childhood. I had what I needed. We were like, middle class family. I felt safe. Mom, dad, brother. I guess the challenge for me was going through the adolescent stage. I was pretty much always a straight A student, lived by the book, and I wanted to like please my parents, please my teachers. And throughout growing through that stage, I would say 12, 13, 14 is when it really hit the
Yeah.
fan. Things changed, emotions changed, the way I was to my family changed, as a kid, what I was searching for kind of changed. And that was when it was just a really tumultuous time, with my family and with my parents. And it was all because I don't think I understood what really was going on, what I was looking for, what I was needing as a kid.
Mm,
So that I gave my parents a really hard time. I still
yeah.
did okay in school, but when I came home from school, I really put them through the ringer.
Yeah. Right. you
Yeah.
know um Within that topic, and it might be a bit different based on, obviously, I think there's different elements when it comes down to which school district you're teaching, or what city, or there's different elements. Overall, though, I think the idea behind the learning and the teachings really come down to, in my opinion, in two different aspects: the student and the teachers, right? Um, and one thing that I used to say as a kid is, it didn't matter what school I went to. It really comes down to what kind of passion and or what the student wanted to do, or what the student wanted to learn. It really comes down to that, and I think that's in anything in life, right? Because oftentimes we tend to blame the environment or the society or the neighbors or the president or whatever the case may be. Except it really, we got to be able to own on to that responsibility. Being a teacher, middle school or any of the grades you're teaching, um, did you see a big diversity in terms of not only people, also habits, things that people will do, students will do, where they were not mentally focused, or it could have been brought from home, or it could have been just not having that. How was that, in terms of what you've seen?
Right. So many things affect our learning. And, I have two daughters myself, and I was just telling them the other day that if a kid isn't feeling safe, if a kid isn't feeling comfortable, like they're able to be themselves, that could come from something happening at home, that could come from something happening with friends. There's no way they're going to be able to learn as much as given to them, or, because they're going to be distracted. Their mind is going to be thinking of whatever it might be. I've taught in places and coached and trained teachers, in places where the kids didn't have food. Their parents were working and at night, and so they would have to come home, and their older sibling was taking care of them. And so if it was the older sibling, then they might not have gotten their homework done because they're taking care of their family. And or, their parents are working, 2 or 3 jobs, and then they get the lunch at school or the breakfast at school, but that's nothing, it's like a little bit of cereal or something, or some of them don't eat, are embarrassed, right? So they're embarrassed to eat the school lunch, because then that tells everybody that they don't have, money to have their own lunch, and so their own breakfast. And so they're not eating. So all of these things compounded, really don't bring out the best in our kids as far as a learning environment. And I think it is up to the teachers and the school to kind of work with the parents. And, the parents are embarrassed as well sometimes, that they don't want to share what's going on, right? And so I think it really takes that building that relationship, and without having the relationship with your, the people that are teaching you, there's no way they're going to be able to know that at all. They're just going to think this kid's just messing up. This kid doesn't care. And you know what? 99% of the time, it's not true at all.
Yeah. Do you normally do, so most of your teaching has been middle school or high school, or combination of?
When I was in the classroom, it's middle school. When I coach teachers, I've coached teachers all throughout, so K through 11th grade. And that just is coaching them on, teaching strategies. Sometimes it was forming relationships, dealing with like class management, things like that.
Right. So one thing that I'm curious about, people normally, you're a teacher and you're a long time teacher and people love that job. You obviously venture out and wanted to not only be a teacher, you wanted to teach other teachers on how to, again, do all of those managements, life coach them, also parents and students. Where did that idea come from to say, you know what, I want to do more than just, teaching?
Right. So I'm a lover of learning, and nothing, every year I'm constantly growing, and I really believe, and I think you believe this too, like if you're not growing, you're dying, so that's, so, you can only be really in one place or one state for so long. And, you could switch things up, but at some point you have to think, okay, how could I impact more? And that's where it kind of came from. How could I impact more? How could I take what this is a gift? How could I take this gift and how could I help people? And it started first with just helping people, helping teachers, because that's what I knew. And that's what my school and my, mentors kind of saw in me, like, oh, we can, you are the best of the best here. You train them to be the best of the best too. And then it came up, into helping parents, because I realized that all of these things that come naturally for us as teachers and in the education system, the parents are having questions. Is this normal for my kid? How can I help them with this? How do I deal with this? How are they able to tell you, Erin, what's going on, but they can't even talk to me? And I guess I'm just going to wait it out. And so it was the next iteration. I thought I have to, especially with all the pressure that I see in the classroom and from kids starting at really young, the anxiety, and the worry that these little kids, have, that they don't need to have. I thought, how can I help more? And I have to get into the families. I have to get into the homes, because that's where, that's where you're raised. That's where your belief system is kind of coming from. So I have to get in there to help and kind of release the pressure.
Yeah. Talking about the pressure and the anxiety and all the things that, kids might be going through. I think for me, if I can go back and look back at my adolescence, obviously I had a lot of pressure. Maybe, you've had many cases like my case where, I said we got pregnant, but I got pregnant with my daughter at age 15. I had my daughter at the age 16. And, obviously one of the learnings that I had from my parents was, make sure you just go to school and get a good education. So I fulfilled that and I graduated with honors. Nevertheless, I was facing that and the pressure of being a student and trying to still please my parents and do whatever I can. And the pressure of, well, now I have a daughter and I got to take care of her and I got to go to work and I got to do my homework and I got to do this and I got to do that. That definitely can take a big toll on somebody. And sometimes, or oftentimes, we have two choices. We can either go through the right path or the left path, right? And depending on that path, there's consequences. And looking back now, as I see things now, is the choices and the decisions that we make today will determine the quality of life that we have tomorrow, right? And so, looking at that, how do you address maybe similar cases, maybe not somebody that had a kid at the age of 15 or 16, yet nevertheless that pressure of you got to work, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to stay focused in school so that you can get that education. How do you deal with that with either a parent, maybe through all of them, teachers, parents, and students?
All right. So as far as the pressure, we have to first identify where it's coming from and who's putting the pressure on us, right? And like you said, looking at things for what they are and what they can be. And a lot of times we put this on ourselves, right? So you really have to lay it out like, this is what we're dealing with, and who's putting the pressure. If it's from ourselves, why? What are, is it because you have all of these things going on? Is it because you really want something more for yourself in the future? And I think it's a case by case scenario, obviously, but when we kind of lay out everything and we realize where things are coming from and what our needs are, and that's the other thing that I kind of take my clients through, is we all have 6 human needs, and everyone, let me just tell you what they are. They're the need for growth, contribution, love and connection, significance, variety, and we all have certain needs that are more important to us. So for example, during your time, you might have the need for significance right now. And that means that you really, it really matters to you that people see what you're doing. Your kids might have the need for variety as they're going through. So I would take my students and my parents through this needs assessment and see like, what need right now is this pressure that you're causing? Like, what need is this fulfilling? And where do you want to go in the future? And, like I said, a lot of times it's just put on from ourselves. So like you were saying, set it up for what you want to be, in the future, and look at it from like an objective perspective. Step back. What can you do right now? And how can you make it easier, like you said, for your life in the future?
Right. Yeah. The assessment, is that based on a scale of 1 to 10, or how is that? Is it a self-assessment?
It's a self-assessment. So you answer a bunch of questions, like
Okay.
90 questions. And based on how you answer those questions, it comes out with what needs are most important to you. So, is it that you need to have consistency, and what does that look like, and why sometimes parents have this need for significance and for the consistency, when the kids have this need for variety. There's kind of like a
Yeah.
what is it, a conflict, right? And so
Yeah.
it's really helping you see what needs do you have yourself, and then based on those needs, our behaviors happen. And so you could really start seeing like, oh, I'm doing this because I have this need for, love and connection, and I'm feeling, even though, and that's where we could, oh gosh, I could go on, but that's where a lot of times, the person that gets in the relationship with like the bad, the person that's not so good for them, like it's fulfilling a need,
Yeah.
and that's why we do these behaviors, and that's why we accept the way that other people behave towards us, is because it's filling a need, whatever that may be. So if we can really help people understand why they're doing what they're doing and where it's coming from, then that's where the growth happens.
Yeah. That's actually interesting. And I think I've seen this a lot where, again, going back to is fulfilling a need, whatever that need might be. And sometimes, whether it's, kids or adults, we tend to attract or being in a situation that maybe doesn't serve us, yet is fulfilling that need. And so how do you step away from that, right? How do you tell somebody that is not the place you need to be? You got to be able to recognize that and be able to just come out of that. You hear this oftentimes on toxic relationships, maybe that job that really is not serving you, you hate that job, yet it's paying the bills, so it's fulfilling that need, whatever that might be, right? Except, again, we are so attracted to that. It's like a magnet. How do you separate yourself from that? How do you say, what, enough is enough? Because I think that is the biggest thing for anybody, is to be able to recognize and realize that, what, I had enough, and I got to be able to make a change, pivot somehow to start going through a different outcome.
Right. So it's all about trying to fill that need in a better way.
Mm.
So once you realize, like, for example, you mentioned the job thing. Once you realize like, oh, it's bringing me this income. If I step away, that's going to be too risky. How can we fulfill that need of safety and security without, first aligned with, and then you can go ahead and go leave, and so it's kind of seeing yourself in that different position and feeling that need in a better way, in a more serving way. So like the toxic relationship, what are you getting? You're getting some kind of love and connection, even though it isn't really loving, right? But how can we fulfill that need? How can we help you go and hang out with family and friends and other people that are, sincere to you, and then they can release that other. And I use a lot of metaphors with my parents and with my kids, and it's like, go pop that balloon, go let it go. If you're carrying a heavy bag, we pretend like this is the big backpack, let it go, drop it, really set it down. And it's going to take time, right, to develop those habits and those healthy habits, to see and to recognize. But a lot of times people just recognize that, oh man, that's what I'm doing. And once you have the education on where it's coming from, it's a lot easier to figure it out and how to change your behavior.
Got it. In terms of you working with teachers or parents or students, do you do this on a one-on-one basis, or you do this in group settings? How does that work?
Right. So a few different ways. When I coach my families, I make sure that I'm coaching the whole family. So I tell parents, sometimes parents just want me to go fix their kid. And like, you just coach my kid on how to get through middle school. I'm like, oh no, it doesn't work that way. So I coach the parents. We'll do Zoom calls for the parents. I'll coach the kids separately, and then we'll have a family session together. Because like I said, it's important for them to understand each other, and then we come together. And, I've done group sessions where it's more like a Q&A, but to really get at the individual growth and help the family connect, it really depends on the whole family, and same with if it's a teacher, in a school, it's really getting into their environment. But right now with families, that's how I work mostly.
I'm just curious, what is the average percentage of disconnect between parents and kids? Is that a pretty high number? I'm just curious to understand that, because I think that's critical for the people that are listening to this, especially if you have kids. Like, it probably gives them a different perspective of how to approach that, right?
Right. That's a great question, Caesar. I think during the adolescent stage, it's pretty big. And what happens is even if a family is really well connected when a child is like 10, 11 years old, when they start going through those changes, they do retract. So even in the most connected family, there is a disconnect. So, I mean, percentages, I'm a math teacher, a math person, I would say that at least like 90% of families are going to see a change. No, it's going to vary, like, not that they're going to be totally disconnected, but, even my family that I feel like is really close, and I have an 11-year-old right now, like she's, needing her space and retracting. And it's all about how, I want to really help parents and tell families that are listening, if once you understand and have compassion and try to remember what you were going through during that age, I think you can see your child in a different way. And if you give them a choice, like, do you need to just have some time alone right now? Or would you like to talk? And just giving them a choice and letting your kids know, a lot of times that's all it takes, rather than forcing them. No, I want to talk to you right now. Come here. Let's handle this. No, give them a choice. And then when they are opening up to you and they're saying, oh, okay, I do want to talk, then there's two choices. Do you want me to just listen to you? Or do you want me to help problem solve?
Mm,
And I think, it takes a lot as a parent too, because we want to solve our kids' problems and we
right.
want, to help them. But a lot of times they just need to vent. They just need you to listen to that friendship problem that you're not going to be able to help, or that teacher problem, or whatever it is. And through this, you're going to start seeing that your kids will be able to communicate with you and say, wait, hold on, mom, or hold on, dad. I really don't want you to help right here. I just need to talk to, I just want you to listen. I just need to talk with you and share this with you. So it's communication is just a big piece. And I really believe and feel strongly that if you just keep that communication line open and understand compassion,
Mhm.
that you don't have to have so large of a gap, and, so large of a disconnect with your kid.
Yeah, I think the fine line there is for parents. I would think is, how to be a friend when you're a parent, right? I think, being able to do that and differentiate that, and I can definitely see that. I want to be the parent. I want to be the one with the authority. I want to be the one with, here's how you're gonna fix this, versus let me just be your friend right now. And so I think that's a big component of that communication, right? What would be maybe a couple of tips you can give us in terms of parents that might be facing some challenges right now, and they want to get closer to the kids, right? And then again, being able to break through that wall of, I'm a parent, let me be a friend now.
Right. And you're right about the boundaries, because it's really important. I think some tips that I would give for parents is that you still are the authority, and along the lines of things that might end up harming your children in the future, right? Or let's just talk about devices and social media and those lines. I mean, you can set boundaries for your kids. You can tell them when it's time to go to bed. You can tell them, no, that's too much sugar or whatever. You are still the parent. You still know best. And to be able to communicate with them, they need to have trust. They need to see that you are genuinely trying to understand. And that means put down your phones, parents, put down your work. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
really is that important that you can't just listen to your kids. They need to know that you are present, because they know if I'm doing something, they know if you're doing something, you're on your phone, you're working, they know if you're not, they know if you're asking, when you go, they know if you're really listening, ask them questions, because, I really want to hit this home right now with our kids, and just coming off of the 2 years of the craziness that we've been, dealing with, and our kids are feeling it. And there's a heightened increase of teen depression, teen suicide. And, what happens is they're not telling their parents. They're communicating with their friends, and they're thinking that they're alone. And so, that, like you said, there is a fine line, but to be that friend, it's just really being present. It's really seeing your kid. Are they changing? Are they, are their habits changing? Are their
Mm,
behaviors changing? And ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them, like, are you okay? What's going on? And like I said, give them a choice. Like, I really want to talk with you. Now might not be a good time, but I'm going to ask you again, in a few hours, let's have a chat. Ask them what they want to do. Do you want to watch a movie? Do they want to go out, outside? Do you want to go for a walk? See what they want to do, and be interested in them. Ask them what their favorite song is. I mean, it's so, so silly. Ask them what's going on in the, in the music world lately, what's
mhm.
going on with their favorite sports team. Really show some interest in, even if they're into video games or whatever, YouTube, ask them to show you, what's a cool YouTuber right now. I don't know,
Right.
what's going on. And I think that would be a nice way for them to really try to connect.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I can definitely see that. And just, obviously my daughter's already grown. Just kind of looking back, and again going back to my own childhood and adolescent years. There's a lot of elements. And again, I believe that sometimes we kids, or teenagers for that matter, they're looking for that community, right? And if they don't have that community, or that family feeling at home, then that's where I believe they'll go out and find a community. And it might not be the right community. It might be, taggers, or whatever that might be. And this group of people in school that may not be serving them. So I think that's more so why we got to be connected to them in a different level, right?
Totally agree. Yep. And it could be, and it could be anything. It could be a community that's destructive to them. It could be a substance that's destructive to them. So if they're not, if we're not meeting our kids' needs, going back to those basic needs, if we're not meeting those, they're going to go out and figure it out and how to meet their needs. And it could be the need for variety. I want to change things up. And so if your family, is just always doing the same thing, and they're wanting a little bit of change, we need to learn that about our kids. And so we can help them.
Right. If people want to connect with you, learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on everywhere. You can Google Erin Hansen, life coach, Erin Hansen, parent expert. But I'm on Instagram. I am Erin Hansen. I am on Twitter. You can go to middleschoollifecoach.com and find me there.
Yeah. And is that where people, whether it's parents or students or teachers, can definitely connect with you and learn more about what you do and how you can help them?
Yep. Go to my website, middleschoollifecoach.com. There's a bunch of opportunities for you to, fill out a consultation form. I offer clarity coaching sessions for no fee, so we can see if it's a good fit. And I'll help you and give you some strategies and suggestions there too.
Yeah. And I want to go back to one of the things that we were talking about earlier today, and that the idea of if you stop learning, you're essentially are going to start dying, right? And for you, that you continue to grow, you continue to learn, you continue to do all these different things. Sometimes we as adolescents don't think of that. What we focus upon is, I got to get through this school year. I got to get through that next school year, whatever that might be. What is your thought on that? Do you think it's a good thing for them to kind of look ahead and say, hey, keep working through, or just focus on that 1 year? Or how do you go about that?
Yeah, I want everyone to find their passion and what they're naturally gifted, naturally good at. And, everyone's path, success. I was just talking with somebody yesterday and I said, what does success look like to you? Success looks different to a lot of people. You don't even have to, finish your, I want you to go finish your, your high school, just for the sake of that. But you don't have to go to college. You don't have to, go through all this and go to a trades or go to it. Learn what your gifts are now and what you're passionate about now, because that's really what matters. And that's what you are going to thrive at, and have that job and have that business going so you can create the life that you want. So you can create the life of your dreams. And I tell my students right now that A+ doesn't matter. That C doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're trying hard, you're true to yourself, and you can see something bigger and dream big, dream. This is what what you teach too, and teach and preach too, is you can do whatever, you really can. But here's the deal. You have to believe it. You have to really believe that it's possible. And you have to really believe that you are going to do that thing, be that person, because if you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. So I think it definitely, starts up here in your head, and really whatever path it is, and then be open, think, I would say dream big, think in the future, and then be open to receive and to see what that path looks like, for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. Definitely love that. And I do believe that, opportunities are knocking, and sometimes they're not disguised beautifully and we don't see them. And so we got to be able to see, we got to be open, and we got to be open to every opportunity. This might be a little bit of controversial, not sure. I want to get your thoughts on this though, right? The idea of get ahead, go to school, get a good job, and all these great things, right? And I'm not knocking the educational system. I have a master's degree myself. Yet again, though, my thoughts are different now. Except, what about you, right? Obviously, you've been an educator for many years. You're also a life coach. You're also doing something different. And you said something very critical that I think is important. It's not about a C+ or the A+. I believe it's about the effort. It's about the fact that I'm not giving up. Even if I fell down 20,000 times, I'm still getting up and doing that. What is your thought, your idea about, your traditional, maybe that's a better way, right, your traditional education, college, so on and so forth?
I'm right there with you, Cesar. Oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. And as far as college isn't everything. Okay. Let's see what you want to do. Do you want to have your house on the beach, and do you want to have, and want for nothing and have money flowing in? Okay. How can you do that? What kind of business can you create? I tell my own kids, and they look at me like, Mom, but you're a teacher and I don't have to go to college. And I'm like, no, let me just say this. I want you to think about your goals in life and how can you get there? Is it a business? You know what? If I'm going to pay whatever, $40,000, $50,000 a year for you to go to college, I'll give you $50,000. Let's start your business, and we don't have to wait until you're 18 to start your business. There's so much, like you said, opportunity out there. And I think we are really limiting our kids because, as you know, and I value the education system. I like I have my degrees too. But like you said, what's happening right now is our kids are going to college because they're like, what I'm seeing is kids are going to college and they're dropping out because that's their goal. Get to college. And then, oh, wait, this is what life is like. What am I supposed to do now? Or they graduate from college and it's like, okay, now what do I do? And they might not be able to find a job, or they're finding a job and it's not meeting their needs. And so I really think that there are many different avenues. And I think, and that's what I coach parents on too, because so many of my parents are so traditional with this. And it's like, that's the goal and that's the end all be all. And it really doesn't have to be. And success just looks different. And I think it's a systemic thing, because in the schools there's this pressure, and kids need to get that A, they need to go to the next class, they need to be in honors, then they need to go to this college, and not all colleges are, weighted the same. And I just think it's wrong. I think we're doing our kids a disservice, and at what cost?
Yeah. And one thing that I want to add to that, talking about success and how people define success, I know back in the day, I used to define success myself based on the monetary value or how much money I had in my bank account. Now, as I see things, that's not success, right? I think success is more about how fulfilled is my life? Am I happy? I can be a janitor, and if I love that, let that be my success, right? And so it's not necessarily the monetary aspect. Obviously that's important. It's how healthy, how's your life? Are you happy? Are you enjoying it? Whatever that might be. And so I want to leave that to the people that are listening to this, is that success is based on that. Everything else is going to fall into place, right? And so I definitely see that differently now than I did before, for sure.
Right. I agree with you, because you need to feel fulfilled, and yep, the money, and people that have money, a lot of money, they'll tell you this too, that all of a sudden they're not happy, they're depressed, they're,
right.
And what is this all about? And you can't, you're absolutely right. Health and love and connection and fulfilling. I think being able to give too, and to fulfill your own, and give your gifts that you're here on earth to give.
Yeah, definitely. Erin, I have two more questions for you. I mean, I love this. Is definitely amazing. The first one is, you obviously you got a life coach through Tony Robbins. So he talks about rituals or habits. What kind of habits do you have on a day-to-day basis to put you in a positive state of mind or to keep pushing forward?
I love talking about this. And I constantly change mine and try to add new ones, because, I think you and I, we both love growing and being our ultimate self. So something that I'm doing right now, Cesar, is in the morning before I take my kids to school, I'm trying to meditate. Now this might, I'm a busy working mom and I have two kids that I'm, getting ready in the morning myself. But even if it just means 5 minutes, I go into my room and I sit on the floor and I set my timer. Even if I don't have 5 minutes and we're running late, I'm trying to make even just 2 minutes. Or as I'm putting on my shoes, I'm like, okay, this is going to count. But I'm by myself in my room, and meditating looks different. I have a word, or I have an idea, or I just need to be silent and say, help me get through this day. And it's going to be a great day, or give me the energy. But then what I'm also trying to do is, when I come home, I'm trying to transition. And I think this is a really big helpful hint for working parents is you're at work, dealing with all this, and then you come home and then you have to be the mama, the dad. And we really need to give ourselves a few minutes, and it could be alone, it could be in a room, but a few minutes to kind of calm our brain and transition to the next thing, because then it's dinner and this and that, and, you know, or whatever activity, homework. And so I think that's a really big thing. So the transitions and the meditating. The other habits that I have is I have right here, I have my planner. And so I lay out, I'm a big pen and paper person. So I do have like my Google Calendar, but it really helps me to see throughout the day. I write what my priorities are for the day. And then, you know, every hour or, you know, chunks of time, I kind of write it out. And, you know, this is also good modeling for my kids, because my daughter was saying, oh my gosh, I have this, I have soccer, I have guitar, I want to practice, I want to play with my guinea pigs. Like there's so much. And I said, you know what, I have this planner. And this is how I approached it. Cesar, I said, this is how I do it for myself. I don't know, it might work for you, it might not. Like, I don't just shove it to her, like, do a planner, right. You know, but the planner, I think, is also, and then I also can reflect, like, did I get done what I wanted to get done and not, and I'm pretty lenient, like on the weekends, I'm not a big, you know, planner person, but at least during the week, it's really helping me to focus and kind of reflect on my day too. Do you do that? Do you have a planner?
I do. Actually, I have one right here. I have a planner too. I do that, and I listen to a lot of different people, and I know Richard Branson also carries a little notepad with a pen just for ideas and things like that. And I forget this other guy's name. Jim Brown used to talk about it also, you know, always good to have that. And so anyways, I have that just like you. I work off of Google Calendars or Calendly, except I use that too. Like, what are some of the things that I'm working on? If I'm outside and I use my phone, it's just good for me to kind of go back and forth, right? So that's definitely very similar. One of my habits that I do pretty much every day. I meditate, affirmations every day. I do exercise every day. And so a lot of those different things, because I think that, you know, you have to have that. And as you said, they change. They definitely change from time to time. So the last question I have for you is, being in, you know, maybe in the same topic with students, parents, or teachers, for anyone that might be going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one advice of the minute you already given us? What is one advice that you can give us that they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
I think you need to visualize the outcome. Okay, so and visualize the outcome, meaning what, so first go back. What is that challenge like? What is the feeling of that challenge? And no, we're going to take the outcome. What do you want to feel instead? And the actual feeling in your body, visualizing the outcome. And it could be that I just want things to be easier, but you have to get really specific to see that end result. Because otherwise, if you're just going to focus on the challenge, it's like going skiing. You know, you going skiing, the skiers aren't focusing on the trees; they'll hit the tree. You know, so you have to focus on that finish line, and you got to and whatever that means, and then take little steps to get there. But you really have to believe and see it first, because if not, you know, you're not going to even take those steps. And like you said, you're going to see these opportunities, but you might not even see them as opportunities. Right.
Yeah. I love that. No, that's definitely good. And you know, have that visual, chunk it down and work towards that. So yeah, definitely love that. Erin, again, thank you so much. It was such a great time. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Yes, I would love the families listening to know that, you know, if you have a kid that's going through adolescent time, you don't have to wait. You know, a lot of families want to just, okay, this is just a crazy time. You know, they're 14. I'm going to wait until they're 18 and then they're going to come back and be my kid again. It's not, no, you don't have to wait. You know, try to start connecting with your kid now. Try to, you know, listen and be present. And, you know, if you want more tips and tricks, you know, reach out to me and I would love to help. And along those lines as well, Cesar, I just also want my families to know that kids are facing a lot of pressure right now, and whether or not you think it's important or silly, and you know, sometimes we don't understand. We're like, that's so silly. Why are you worried about that? It's not silly to them. And so I really want you to know what your kids are going through.
Yeah. And you know, just to add to that, I think you're right. I mean, specifically after 2 years of this, whatever this is, you know, there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of signs. And I think more so now we got to be more connected with our kids. and just be in the lookout for any changes, any shifts that you see in your kids, because you just never know. There's a lot more kids that are depressed, and I have heard a lot that, unfortunately, are talking about suicide and all these different things. So we got to be on the lookout for those things for sure.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Awesome. Well, Erin, thank you again for being here on the show. Really appreciate you and everything you had to share with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cesar. Very grateful for you.
Yeah, definitely. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you connect with Erin. Check out her social media, her website. We're going to have all of that in here. And do me a favor, share this message because somebody needs to hear this. I will see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Thanks, Cesar.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.